Welcome to Unhinged and Bumbled Up, where you can
join serial dater Phil.
That's me. And dating detoxer Liz.
That's me. Welcome to the world of online dating.
What can you expect in the Unhinged and Bumbled Up podcast?
Dating do's, don'ts and disasters.
What we and our guests would gladly chuck in the 2020 dating bin to be gone forever.
What real people really think about those tricky dating dilemmas.
Or some dating trivia. You'll never know when it'll come in handy for that pub quiz.
Top tips and tricks from our awesome guest experts who luckily know a little more about dating than we do.
So if you've ever had a dating disaster,
ignore the red flags.
If your dating life is less successful than the chances of Liz missing an episode of Love Island,
then you're in the right place. Do we know what we're talking about? No! Our dating lives are both utter shite. So join us as we talk all things dating. The good, the bad, and the sorry, there's just no spark. Hello and welcome to the Unhinged and Bumbled Up podcast. I'm Liz, he's Phil, and today on the podcast we are talking about knowing your worth. So how can you date in a way that respects yourself, respects your boundaries, and leaves you feeling absolutely awesome and not getting completely trashed by fuckboys / fuckgirls, right?
I'm glad you added fuck girls in there as well.
any other gender identity with the word fuck before it?
we like to cover everybody. Yep, we'll do that. But first of all, let's start with Love Island because I feel that we have to talk about it.
We do! I'm so excited. This is like my favourite show on the TV.
So we're recording this on Wednesday, so we've only actually seen 2 episodes so far. Liz seems extremely excited about this. Me, not so much. Now, tell me your first thoughts.
I love it. I just love it so much. I'm so happy it's back on my TV. Obviously, let's just be direct. It's absolute trash. Like, absolute fucking nonsense. Mm-hmm. Obviously. I feel like we need to be upfront about that. Oh, it just makes me so happy. The sun, the soundtrack, the nonsense. It just makes me laugh. I just honestly cancel my plans for the next 6 weeks. I'm done.
The vain people, the
the tans, the unrealistic body standards, the terrible interactions, and the inevitably rather toxic relationships. Yeah, the whole thing. I'm just here for it.
Yeah, when the girl's working out and the guys were like, "Oh yeah, I'll go sit down and watch that." I'm like, "What the hell?" And then the Chloe, I think her name is, she comes down and sits. She's the one that
spoiler alert, guys. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't watched it, then this comes out next Monday, so you're a week behind.
It's all going to have changed by then anyway, probably.
Yeah, because Chloe was the one that liked married men, if I remember rightly.
I feel like that doesn't make me warm to you a lot, Chloe.
No, Chloe, that was no good. No. And then, it's quite dull. I found last night's episode quite dull.
Do you know, to be fair, what I think is that it's never interesting until you get to know the people. And once you get to know the people, you're invested in them and you care what happens. Right now, it's just a load of strangers. But honestly, trust me, give it a couple of weeks when you get to know the people and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that person did that. I swear.
I don't feel as invested in this season. I don't
I trust the process. I felt like that about every season apart, like since the one with Kez and Chris. Like since then, every single season that's come on, I've been like, nah. And then every single season, I end up loving it. The season with Maura. Kem, sorry, yeah. Although the season with Maura in it will go down in history. She was amazing.
Okay, I don't think I watched that, but I think
check out.
One of the things about Love Island that annoys me is body diversity and the fact that there is 0.
I also think on the topic of body diversity, I don't know, because I've looked at the lineup of guys and was like, gosh, Hugo's like really, really slim, like almost like skinny. But if you actually saw him in the real world, you'd probably think he was absolutely wedged compared to a normal person. But it's just because he's next to all the other lads who are clearly spend about 8 hours a day in the gym that he looks skinny, but actually is not.
Okay, here's a question. Take away the fact they're like in their 20s. Yeah. Is there anyone that you're attracted to?
No. Yes.
No.
Yeah.
What?
It's going to be weird if I say, because they are all like babies. Jake. What about Jake? Call me Jake. The one that's from Somerset.
He's
got
the
like
big
a proper
tattoo
farm
guy, isn't he?
Yeah, of course he is. Obviously.
Yeah.
Like,
Obviously.
That's a surprise. Liz likes big tattoo lads, yeah. Because I'm not predictable at all. But the one with a really strong like Somerset farmer accent.
Yeah.
Just floats my boat.
Isn't he quite... How tall is he? Because compared to the others, he looks.
I think he's maybe 5'8" or 5'9", so similar kind of height to me. We can make this work, Jake. We can make it work. I also thought,
apart from your 20-something,
apart from that, I also thought, like, to look at. So I watched this with a friend, right, who loves it as much as I do. She's in her 40s, so we laugh doubly about the fact that they're all, very young. But she thought that Brad was standout attractive.
He's the one from the north,
Newcastle,
isn't he?
Yeah. For me, I'm always suspicious of anyone who's fully cleanly shaven. Don't trust them. Need a bit of stubble.
And also the fact that he hasn't slept with anyone since, what was it, 2019?
Well, I didn't know that.
Well, apparently you said that when he came in. He was like,
wow.
Everyone thinks I'm a top shagger, but I haven't slept with anyone since 2019. And I was like...
It's been a pandemic, so there's that. But also, I initially was like, yeah, he's a nice looking lad, like dark hair, blue eyes, handsome. Doesn't do anything for me. Like, I don't know if it's his personality or the way he speaks or his mannerisms. Just he's got less attractive for me rather than more.
Everyone's a bit dull and dry, and I think that's it. So I think we've
everyone who doesn't like Love Island is like, Mom, can I skip this bit?
If you don't like Love Island, have a look at my reels.
I love it. They're making me absolutely piss myself.
I was going to do it with the teeth in, but. Yeah, I wouldn't record.
I need to say, by the way, that when we record this podcast, Phil and I are on video, right? So we can see each other while we're recording. And when I joined today's call to record the podcast, Phil's camera wasn't on. And I was like, Phil, you all right? Your camera's not on. And when he switched it on, he was fully wearing the Hawaiian shirt and the teeth and the abs. The full Love Island package is what he turned his camera on.
That's my abs.
Oh, is it? Oh, is it really? Where have they gone?
Been working out. They're underneath the top. Jeez. Anyway, the real reason we're here.
Yes.
Because we let our followers on Instagram choose our topic this week because this is
a democracy.
Yeah. But this is our last proper episode of talking about a topic with just me and Liz because. Next one's our final of the season, and we're planning some stuff. But yeah, that's gone quick.
It's gone really quick. So we have this episode, and then a guest episode, and then the finale episode. I can't believe we're coming to the end of season 1. That's gone so fast.
I know. Our journey. We're nearly at 3 months. Is it 3 months? Nearly.
Yeah. When do we start? Beginning of April. So May.
April the 5th.
3 months.
Yeah, 3 months of talking every single week and...
I know, firm friends.
Yeah. And then we've got 6 weeks off, people. 6 weeks.
Have. I mean,
Jeez.
You have, as listeners, we're going to be busy starting recording for season 2, without doubt, and doing some really cool, fun promo stuff. But it's going to be awesome. So we'll have a bit of a summer break, and then we'll be back for season 2 at the very start of September.
Yes. So... to what you all voted, with a staggering 31 people that wanted it, was Know Your Worth.
Woo!
Yeah.
And what were the other topics, Phil? And why do you think that people chose Know Your Worth?
The other topics were putting a plaster on a relationship. So basically, we were going to talk about things like when people buy houses, when their relationship's going downhill, or they buy a puppy, or they have a baby, or they get married. So we was going to talk about that, but only a couple of people wanted that. Then the other topic was the breakup. So we was going to talk about breaking up, how to deal with it, where to go from there.
I do feel like we need to do that topic at some point because I do think it's important.
Yeah. We are talking about the getting together, but not the not the breaking apart.
And not how getting over the breakup that you're still not over is affecting your dating life.
Yeah. And then the last one was questions that you get asked that you don't know how to answer, which quite a lot of people get asked sometimes. So, but
tricky questions.
You guys chose Know Your Worth. So, knowing that. So, we'll start off with the question that I asked. If you're currently single, do you feel the need to drop your standards? What percentages, Liz?
38.
Said what?
Said yes, they feel the need to drop their standards.
35.
Okay, 35%. Pretty good guess.
So yeah. Now, 65% said no, which I feel is great.
Yeah. I think there is... it's hard, isn't it? Because quite often single people get told by their coupled up friends that they're too picky. I know that I've been told that a lot in my life when I've been single, because I am picky, but I don't see that as being a problem.
You're not picky. You know what you want. Know what you want.
Or I am picky, and that's a good thing, because it's important to be selective about who you let into your life. Like, I feel like picky is seen as a bad thing, but actually it's I might not be picky about what I have at tea, but I need to be picky about who I let into my life in the most intimate relationship that I have, right? It's a good thing.
Definitely. And when people say, oh, I want to settle down, that word settle, you don't settle. That word really, 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 really annoys me. It's like, why should you settle? Because if you want to spend like the rest of your life or a very long time with somebody, you don't want to just settle for, they'll do.
Fine, yeah.
I
think as well there's... I think there is a sense of sometimes people feel the need to not lower their standards. I don't know if that's the right phrase, but, compromise on some things that there would have been standards that they were set. And sometimes I think that can be a good thing, because sometimes, like, if you set criteria, like I want somebody to be within this age range, say, and then you meet somebody who's a bit outside that age range but is otherwise amazing, then for sure. Like, for me, that doesn't feel like compromising or settling, or, it just feels like maybe being a bit flexible with what you had said kind of on paper that you wanted.
Yeah.
Whereas I do think that there is some settling which takes place as a result of people being afraid to be on their own, or afraid to... There's all these phrases which Catherine Gray talks about in her book a lot, The Unexpected Joy of Being Single. So all these phrases like being left on the shelf, being a spinster, the crazy cat lady, which is my pet peeve. I hate it when people say that. I'm like, I have cats. That does not mean anything about my long-term relationship plans or mental acuity. But all that stuff about kind of being left on the shelf, blah, blah, it makes people fear being alone. And it kind of goes back to the whole point of the date for a year is to be okay with being on my own. But I do think there's a sense of like, the time ticking, the panic sets in that you're never going to find somebody, and I'm going to die alone and be eaten by Alsatians, Bridget Jones style. And therefore people are like, oh, well, this person's not horrendous. That was all right, right? No.
Nope. No. For me, so what I say is when you're looking for somebody is at the top, you have your deal breakers. They are things that, like, you don't want somebody who takes drugs. You don't want somebody with this. You don't want somebody with that. So major things right at the top. And there shouldn't be like too many of them. Next, underneath, you have your...
Is it like a pyramid? Because I really love like diagrams. I feel like we need to make this into a diagram.
It's an upside down pyramid. No, it is a pyramid. Yeah. The smallest at the top.
Okay, I'm liking this.
Yeah,
it's like reminds me of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but with dating.
With dating. So your deal breakers at the top. Then next down there, you have your non-negotiables. Now, for the right person, these can slightly change a bit.
Or ones where there might be some discretion. So, like, for example... So for me, a deal breaker would be somebody has a criminal history of domestic violence. Like, absolutely non-negotiable under any circumstances, an absolute no. on my next layer down, which I feel like isn't quite called non-negotiables because they might be negotiable, but like in mostly,
we'll figure out a name.
Mostly knows, might be somebody who's got a criminal record or a current criminal conviction. But there is also some room for discretion because there are maybe certain types of crimes or things where you might be able to understand the circumstances, or it was a long time ago or something like that. So in principle it's a no, but there might be some discretionary space, right?
Yeah, so the top of the deal breakers, that's if somebody doesn't fit in that's a no. On the next level, if the right person comes along, you can go, all right. That you tick all these boxes, but this one little thing.
Yeah. Now, mostly a no, some discretion.
Yeah. Now at the bottom, you have like just little irritations, stuff that you could get over, stuff that don't really mean anything. Like, I don't know, somebody who keeps the toilet seat up. I don't know whether that's
leaving your fucking dirty socks on the floor.
Yeah, stuff that's like, okay, we can
as a purely hypothetical example.
I feel like you've been in that situation before. But but
when somebody is otherwise wonderful, give a shit.
Yeah.
I leave my mugs by the bed until they gather mold. Actually, I've got better at that. They don't gather mold so often anymore. When I was in my early 20s, there was a whole colony growing, but I'm a bit better about that now.
It was a science experiment.
Yes, it was. I am quite the scientist.
But yeah, that's how I look at it. You have your pyramid, and when looking for somebody, you've got your deal breakers, and stick with those because they are your values. They are something that, like, I do not want this person in my life because of this, whether you had bad experiences from that type of person before, or whether it's just something morally that you know that you wouldn't be able to have in your life. So,
and I think I really like that way of looking at it, the kind of pyramid-y or like layers. I also feel like you can kind of have a similar thing, but for the positives. So like I have maybe a handful of qualities or characteristics that are absolutely essential to me. Like I could not be in a relationship with somebody who wasn't positive, honest, and compassionate, for example.
Yeah.
Those are just what came off the top of my head. So they are like my absolute, deal breakers. You have to be those things in order for this to work. And then I would have my like, they probably really need to be this. If they're not there, but they're everything else, then maybe it's negotiable. Things like being ambitious or being family oriented or whatever. And then on the bottom layer, you have the things which kind of don't fuss you either way, really. There's like nice to have, but not need to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So it can work both ways. And when your dating process, just so you don't get those rose-tinted glasses on, just have a list like on your phone or something like that, just to remind you of these things. Because I feel that like sometimes when you're swiping along, you're like, oh yeah, and then you look down and it's like that you don't see the deal breaker, and then you realise, oh yeah, it is a deal breaker, and you waste your time.
The opening liner chart.
UABUFM, the chart show.
Hello, listeners. This segment is called the Opening Line Charts, and we'll be taking all the opening liners that we've received and putting them in order each week. Possible new segment.
Right. I think we're going to go to this new little segment that we made up about opening liner of the week. Opening liner of the week.
I'm so glad we're doing this.
We want to know what everybody thinks, so we've got this opening liner as a vote at the moment, but it would have finished by the time you listen to this.
But we really want people to send in their best and worst opening lines, right? So that we can check them out.
We might carry this on for season 2 if we get enough uptake. Now, anyway, this was from a friend, not Wayne. Before Wayne, there's your mention, but not in the right way that you need it. And we asked, "What's the best opening lines you got?" So he was pretty self-confident about himself, saying, "And it's what he sent, not what he got." But anyway, never mind.
So to be clear, this was sent to you by a friend.
Yeah.
There's a good opening line, but the friend is not Wayne, for everybody's reference.
And the friend is not Wayne. We need to clear that point. So it says, I was looking on Uber. I'm guessing he means Uber Eats. I was looking on Uber Eats, and it says, "You're the best place to eat out." Now, so far, we asked.
I'm sorry, I've got the giggles.
You got the giggles. We've got 73 people that would have matched that straight away. We've got 14 people that said they'd carry on the convo. Now, one of those people is him. He said he'd carry on the conversation with himself because he knows it'd be good conversation.
Okay, so I have a mixed opinion on this. Like, obviously, it's horrendous. But I also feel like it's properly made me laugh. So I think it depends where we were in the conversation. Like, if somebody opens with this, I'm probably going to be like, that's really off-putting. But I feel like if I've been chatting to somebody and, like, we've been having a laugh and they're clearly being tongue-in-cheek about it, I might think it was funny.
Yeah, not an opening line.
No, definitely not an actual
leave
opening
it further
line.
down. They may laugh at it. So that is. I think we've got one more actually that I haven't asked people about. So another one that somebody's been sent. So we're going to have 2 because we'll make it a bit longer. And then I'm going to have to make a whole bridge about this and an intro and free. So second one, we're going to put these in ranking order of best and worst list. Okay. So the second one, we're not socks, but I think would make a great pair.
Oh, no, that's like a proper dad one for me.
Okay.
That's a dad joke.
Okay.
Cringe.
And
also, I don't like
one...
thinking about socks, so make me think about feet, and I don't really like feet. But talk to me about socks.
Okay. So I'm guessing that's clearly at number 3 at the moment.
Well, it depends what the next one is.
Can I invite you to my wedding? It's a bit pointless without a bride.
Red flags. Ooh. That's like red flags. Don't start talking to me about weddings on date 1.
This isn't even date 1. This is the opening line.
Opening line. Well, exactly. Because, guys do this as a way to manipulate women, right? They mention marriage really early on.
Yeah.
In a throwaway way, because it does something jangly to a woman's inside to be like...
Disney princess syndrome.
Yeah, it's exactly that, right? So, any mention of marriage early on is to be put in the fucking bin because it's basically a manipulation tactic. But whatever. And if they're not using it as a manipulation tactic, they're clearly codependent as fuck and already thinking about marrying you even though they've never met you. So also red flag.
Yeah.
It's a no.
Yeah. So that's at 3.
So I think the one about...
number 3. Wait. I'm going to do the radio charts. Okay. And new in this week at number 3 is...
Why are you holding your hands around your mouth like a megaphone?
Because it makes it sound more like a radio.
It doesn't. It just sounds all echoey and weird.
Okay. In at number 3, can I invite you to my wedding? It's a bit pointless without a bride.
Terrible.
Number 2, we're not socks, but I think would make a great pair.
Yeah.
And new in at number 1.
Is this really the best one?
So far, we're just going to have to make a table, aren't we, as we go on. This is season 2, by the way. This is coming on season 2. Okay. But we thought we'd try it out. If you don't like it, tell us, please, so we don't put it in. In at number 1, a new entry for, I can't say his name. I was looking on Uber, and it says you're the best place to eat out.
I also kind of foresee that I'm going to get a text from my mum asking me to explain this joke. No, Mum, you can't ask me. So
please don't ask.
You don't want to know.
Please don't. It means go round to Lizz's for dinner because it's the best place to eat.
The more you try and explain it, the worse it gets. Let's just be clear.
Don't Google it.
No, don't Google it. Definitely don't Google it.
Back to the questions. Can you answer this?
So this segment is called Back to the Questions, but it's only me and Liz, so it's just us talking about the same things we were talking about before, but we just needed to split it up with a segment. So if you needed a toilet break, too late.
I think as well, it's really hard when you start dating somebody to make objective assessments of their character, because you really want it to work, right? Like usually when you date somebody, you're really hopeful that this is going to be it. And so your confirmation bias kicks in, whereby you only see the things that you want to see and you conveniently ignore the things that present an alternate theory. So, for example, you want this guy to be amazing. So you notice and keep hold of all the reasons they're amazing and conveniently don't notice all the ways in which they're basically a bit of an op. And I think sometimes that's where friction comes in with friends, because sometimes friends are a little bit better at having a slightly more objective viewpoint of things. And I've certainly been in that position on the giving and receiving end, where I've looked at a friend's relationship and been like, what the hell are you doing? But I don't think I can say that. But the worst thing is when they break up and you're like, thank God he was such a prick, and then they get back together. Oh, it's so awkward. But I also think, I've been in that situation where somebody has said to me, like, just with a fresh set of eyes, I'm not really sure about this. But unfortunately, when you're in it, it's just so hard to see that. And we've used the analogy before about, the house burning down, but when you're inside, you don't notice. Or
it just feels a bit warm.
Exactly. Until it's too late. But I think there's also, and we just want to go back to our episode on codependency. And if you haven't listened to the episodes with Joe Westwood yet, I would highly recommend checking them out. Joe's completely amazing. I've recently joined her membership program, actually, and I joined one of the Q&As, and I was like, this woman is the oracle. It's like, I feel so called out by every single thing she says. But I think when you have a tendency towards codependency, which accidentally rhymes, because the nature of codependency means that you meet somebody and your immediate urge is to enmesh with them and to throw yourself into becoming a we as quickly as possible. That requires you to ignore potential red flags. It requires you to not make an objective assessment. It requires you to adopt a confirmation bias because you're so desperate to make it work, because you're now a we, even though you've only known each other like 2 weeks. Joe talks a lot about, if you have that tendency, enforcing going very slowly and putting in place arbitrary. So I'm sorry, I've gone off on them. I was really interested in your in the Instagram post this morning, which is actually last week now for listeners, about playing games.
Yes.
Because on yesterday's codependency Q&A call, Joe was talking about, which I found really helpful, the idea of putting in place somewhat arbitrary boundaries. If you know that your tendency is to just launch into something with both feet and get very carried away very quickly to an extent that is detrimental, putting in place boundaries like saying, I don't reply to texts after 9 p.m, or I can only see you once a week, or stuff to make things go slowly. Because otherwise, if you don't, they'll accidentally go really fast, right? So I was really interested in it because I thought, is delaying your reply to somebody, for example, on purpose, always playing a game, or sometimes is it actually a sensible strategy for self-preservation?
So I reckon, like you say, it depends on the time. Okay, if it's after 9 o'clock at night, then yeah, that's fine. It's like after a certain time at night, it's kind of like, okay, but if you're at work, then there's no need to reply. It's like we were saying about consistency and how it goes from the start to there. But if you message and then somebody messages you back and then you... and then you leave it. I don't know. It is one of those... It's kind of one of those subjects, isn't it, where you get told a lot to leave it 30 minutes, leave it an hour, just pretend you're busy, act like you're busy. And why I understand it in the terms that you're talking about and the boundaries, was Joe on about those boundaries, you saying them to yourself, or those boundaries you actually putting them out to the person you're talking to?
Potentially both. Because I think the problem is, if you've got somebody who replies quickly, As soon as you reply, they're going to reply. And then if you reply, they reply. And then you get into a situation where you're talking all day, every day, which we know doesn't not
work.
Always that helpful, because then you've exchanged life stories before you've actually met. So I think it probably depends what your motives are. Because if your motives are to look like you're not too keen or whatever, then that probably for me constitutes kind of playing a game. But if your motives are because I want to control the pace of this so that it's sustainable for me, then that's a different thing.
Yeah, and it's easy as saying to them, right, I've got to go do this now, speak later. And that's it. You just close off the conversation.
Yeah, or I'm at work, I'll reply when I get home.
Yeah, or just put a little light, and then if they reply, just double click it and love heart it, done.
Or sometimes I just don't reply. And I'm okay with that. Sometimes I'm just going to leave people on red, and that's just how it is.
Leaving them on red.
I feel like liking. So say this is an Instagram DM. I feel like, love hearting their message and not replying is worse.
Oh no!
Because it looks like the end of a conversation.
So after you've says, oh yeah, I'm going back to work now, or I'm doing this now.
Oh, okay, like with an explanation. I guess.
Yeah, and then they message going, okay, speak to you later. Just done, over, and then you come back to it whenever. It's one of those. So I feel like you don't need to play these games as long as you say to them, right, I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to go chill now, or I'm going to do this. It's like it's kind of like the end of a phone call, isn't it? You're just like, right, I'm going now. See you later. Bye. Yeah.
And I do agree, but I also feel like I don't want to have to explain myself to other people, particularly people that I don't really know. Like they don't need to know where I am or what I'm doing at any given point in time. I'll just reply when I'm ready to reply.
Yeah. Like I say, it's up to whoever. Sometimes it can be seen as games and sometimes it can't. But if you're listening to your friends that are going, don't be too keen, and you want to message back, okay? Nobody has to tell you what to do, what not to do. Do what you feel comfortable with. And
agreed.
That's the way. Now going back to know your worth.
Oh yeah.
So there was a post put up today that I shared on my story, which had a picture of a bum that said, used by never. Okay. And I'm no good at names, so I apologise, but it's by Miss Clara Hermit. And basically, she was saying, as a woman, I have been led to believe that I have a shelf life, that at a certain point age, I will start to lose my value, visibility, and worth. And the caption's really, really good, actually. But I looked at this and I was like, that's true, because I'm not a woman, so I don't know. But from things that have been told to me younger, it's like, oh yeah, you can only have a baby between this age, and if you're over this age, it starts, your time period gets shorter. No, there's science now that can help with that,
and other options, and
there's loads of other options. And it's like we've said before many times on this show, if you don't want to get married, you don't have to get married. It isn't a stop point. It's a kind of like a detour if you want to take it,
That for sure is, though, like a societal thing that men get better with age and women get worse with age.
No.
I know, but that is that's why,
is a society thing,
if you look at the cast of Friends in the reunion, that's why 2 out of 3 of them have had a considerable amount of work done, to the extent that they more or less still look like they did when they were 35, and the guys are just like, oh yeah, they're old now, that's okay. And maybe the guys have had work done, I don't know, but do you know what I mean? Like, there is definitely, women as they get older definitely lose value in the general societal perception.
But they shouldn't, because
tell me about it.
They gain experience, they've got knowledge, they've got so much that, so it's like we were talking about with that word that we can't mention that begins with B on episode 3. Life experiences.
Rhymes with cabbage.
Yes. You've got more life experiences the older you get. So, yeah, so this whole use by date, no, there isn't a use by date. There isn't they're over the hill. There isn't anything like that.
But I do think that does contribute to women's decisions, because if you want to have a baby naturally and you're in your mid-30s, you kind of do have to start thinking about these things. I know that options exist and da-da-da, but if you think about, if a guy wants to have a baby, he can have a baby at essentially any age, whereas a woman does have a finite period of time in which it's biologically feasible to have a baby via natural means. And for sure, you know, science is amazing and there's IVF and adoption and things, but I think, you know, those are also, I think IVF is no small undertaking for anybody. I think that it does contribute to people's decisions. They're kind of, and I know I've talked to women about this. So, you know, even married friends who are like, well, you know, my husband's in no great hurry, but I'm already 35 and I need to come off the pill, which will take a few months. And then, you know, we could end up, you know, needing to try for 2 or 3 years before we're successful. And then by then I'm nearly 40 and then we've only still had one kid, even if that all works out.
So I've just Googled. Okay. So the oldest woman to give birth, this was with IVF. What age?
Oh, it's I think it's like 62 or something.
No, 73.
Wow.
Yeah. 74-year-old. Okay, this must 74-year-old Indian woman becomes the oldest woman in the world after giving birth to twins.
Okay, but I think we can all collectively agree that that's not the common experience.
No,
and
but I'm just
IVF is tremendously expensive and traumatic.
Yes,
for everybody involved.
Yeah. So there is like, I should say, that time limit, but.
But yeah, the point remains. I would rather, if I wanted a baby, I assume, I don't actually know because I haven't been in this position, but I would assume I would rather have a baby by myself with a sperm donor than have a baby with somebody who's not the right person and be stuck with them for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you have a baby with somebody, you have to, in 99% of cases, you have to maintain contact with them. So if you make a dud choice and have a baby with somebody who's a knob, you're going to be stuck interacting with that knob, not in a good way, for the next at least 18 years, right? Or more.
Yeah. Well, it's for life, isn't it? Because then child may get married, and then it's wedding, birthday parties, birth of their child if they have one. So yeah, it's forever things. So I think Jo mentioned that, and we keep going back to Jo's episode, but yeah, she mentioned that about you can actually start a family before you
start a family by yourself.
Yeah. Now, so we were talking about standards. Okay. So this was quite interesting because we asked, what are you referring to when it comes to standards? Looks or personality and values? I think was it binary choice, one or the other? Yeah, it's one or the other.
No option for both. Okay. I'm going to say 70% of people said personality and values.
82% said personalities and values.
Lovely.
And this was quite interesting because I asked, do you know what you were looking for when it comes to a potential partner? Now, 80% said yes, 20% said no. And I put, if yes, let us know. And do you know, not one of them mentioned looks. Not one mentioned looks. And it is really interesting because dating apps, it's all about the looks.
Yeah, and we talked about this with Charlie last week. Like, that is what you swipe based on, right? Like, a little bit of the bio, but mainly first impression on the pictures.
Yeah, but it turns out that what people actually want when it comes to it is like sense of humor, values, honesty, self-awareness, independence. You know, what we were talking about on those triangles, which you can't find out from the pictures.
No, but also, just harking back to Love Island for a minute and the infinite wisdom of these 20-somethings, they did have a conversation about this on last night's episode, which is Tuesday, where they were basically saying somebody can have an amazing personality, but if you're not initially attracted to them, you probably won't give them the time and space for you to get to know that personality. So the initial attraction or the finding them attractive is kind of the gateway to finding out about that personality. Now, that's a little bit different in maybe if you know somebody through like a circle of friends or from work or something, whereby you get to know somebody for their personality, and then maybe you start to find them attractive because you know their personality. But for the most part on dating apps and kind of meeting somebody out and about, if you aren't attracted to somebody, you're probably not going to get to know their personality and find out all the awesome things about who they are.
I think that was Brad that said it 3 times to Faye and then said, "Oh, I'm not sure whether we've got this instant attraction." And I'm like, hang on, you picked her. You kind of did have the instant attraction, but now you've seen everybody else, you're kind of like, oh, maybe I like her more.
She's quite peculiar, is our Faye. She does this really big, like, wide, starey thing with her eyes where she looks like she's going to murder somebody.
Enough of Love Island.
Okay,
Get off Love Island.
Sorry.
So we then went on to ask, what does knowing your worth mean to you? So what does knowing your worth mean to you, Liz?
Ooh.
Deep and meaningful question for a Wednesday evening.
Isn't it? I feel like I need some thinking time. It's like being in an interview, you know, when you're like, I need to answer, but I need to think, but I need to answer, but I need to think.
Do you want me to tell you what some of the people said?
No, I'm just formulating some words.
Okay.
No,
Love Island.
No. Right. So for me, knowing your worth is about having a strong sense of self-esteem and self-identity, and having a clear picture of what you expect of yourself and what you expect of others. Because I don't think you can have expectations about others if you don't have expectations of yourself. So, for example, for me, knowing my worth is partly about how I allow other people to treat me, but it's also about how I treat myself and keeping the promises I make to myself and setting myself particular standards about how I take care of myself. And so a big part of knowing my worth is me looking out for me. And then the second part of it is about having clear kind of a clear idea in my mind, and also enforcing it about how I enable and teach other people to interact with me. But I think what sometimes happens is that people think that knowing your worth is just about how you allow other people to treat you. But if you don't have the fundamental self-esteem and self-worth, you won't be able to make good decisions about that or recognize when somebody missteps, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Like one of our answers was accepting myself 100%. So knowing that I deserve to be happy, loved and respected. There was quite a lot that said about themselves.
Dating disasters. This segment is called Dating Disasters because, let's face it, we've all had them. And this week, because it's me and Liz, it's either one of ours or one of yours. And if you want to send one in, then you know what to do.
Okay, so best part of the show, in my opinion, although I feel like the chat up line bit might actually take my favourite spot. Okay, but dating disaster time. Phil, have you got one for us?
Yes, we have one that's been sent in, and this has actually been unfeatured on Radio 1, BBC Radio 1 in the UK.
Fancy.
Yes. Fancy. We're competing with the big boys or girls or the big people.
Big people.
So, it's a dating disaster that involves Radio 1, and I asked follow-up questions on this. So, I'd been on a couple of dates with this guy, and he said he had a pair of tickets for the Radio 1 big weekend in Norwich, and he couldn't decide which mate to take. And did I want to go? So she's a massive Florence and the Machine fan, so of course she said yes. Well, anyway, he hadn't planned any accommodation or logistics, so I thought I'd have a look. Found a camping site and thought, the full festival experience. Great. Anyway, picked him up. He had nothing with him. Like, no sleeping bag, nothing. Like, nothing. So she kind of knew it wasn't going to go well. The drive to the site, get there, something seemed a bit off. Do you want to take a guess what could be a bit off about this site?
Didn't have tickets?
No. They had tickets to the site. It was a camping site nearby the Radio 1 big weekend festival, but it was a nudist site.
Oh.
Needless to say, I had a great time watching Florence, but it was a bloody weird weekend. My name is Beep, but can you use another name?
Brilliant. So wait, was he just planning on just laying outside in the nude? Like, no sleeping bag? Like, if you're a nudist, you still need a fucking sleeping bag, no?
He had clothes. I don't think he knew it was a nudist camp, from what I asked. Let me just find the conversation.
She found the accommodation?
She found the accommodation, but she didn't know it was
it on a nudist site.
She didn't know it was a nudist site because I did ask her. I also said, I put, did you end up partaking in the site rules or was it optional? She said no, they didn't. They met some people at the end of the day who had also booked it and they were equally confused. He did not have a sleeping bag. He had nothing. So nothing at all. So literally the clothes on his back for the whole weekend. And the whole way home, he snored. So she drove.
Oh, and I bet he stank as well. Did she share a sleeping bag with him, or did he just literally just lay in the cold?
I don't know.
I would not have shared my sleeping
No,
bag.
but
mate, if you're not going to bring a sleeping bag, you can get cold.
The worst part about it all is she says, I think we saw each other a couple more times, but no happy ending.
Why did you see each other more times? If he's a man who books festival tickets and doesn't think about accommodation and who turns up for camping with no sleeping bag, no.
Yeah.
No, your worth. Don't see him again.
Come on, Liberty. I'm using names off Love Island.
Okay, yeah.
We're using...
Come on, Faye.
We're using people's names off Love Island to cover up our anonymity. So, yeah, Felicity, why did you go on more dates? Liberty. Why am I getting names mixed up?
I mean,
I don't even know who Felicity is.
Do you know insider information that there's a Felicity coming to Love Island?
That's because I'm on Love Island. I'm here right now.
Back to the questions.
Where am I? Who are you people?
So again, it's just me and Liz talking, as before, but we wanted that little jingle to get in your head. And if you still haven't gone to the toilet, then you're still too late.
I think my worth has been taught to me by relationships that have gone wrong. I've realised what I have been through and realised that, you know what? I don't want to go through that again.
Yeah. And that you deserve better than that.
Yeah. And I think, sometimes going through the shit teaches you quite a lot more than if your life is like happy all the time and you haven't been through the shit. So that's the thing. But
yeah. Because quite often the way that we notice boundaries and understand boundaries is by when something happens which makes us feel hurt or angry or uncomfortable, going, what was it about that I didn't like? It was because of this, and this is a line for me, and this person has crossed it. But maybe sometimes until somebody's crossed it, you don't know where that line is necessarily. And so, yeah, I agree that your past, potentially tricky experiences, while they were rubbish at the time, sometimes makes you go, oh, no, I actually am worth better than that. I deserve more than that. I don't deserve to be treated like that.
Yeah, because we did ask, has your ex-partner ever made you feel like you have no worth? And 86% said yes. And then we followed that on to, have you ever stayed in the relationship because of this? And 67% said yes. Because I feel that sometimes if someone takes you down to absolutely like you're worthless, they are basically going, the only thing about my worth, the only thing that makes you worthy is being with me. And that's
and that's happened. Kind of key narcissist behavior, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But by the way, if you can hear some banging and crashing in the background, Stanley, the big fluffy cat, has decided that he absolutely needs to chase a fly, which is in the room, which is currently being pinned against the window by the fluffy cat. So I'm sorry to the listeners. I'm not going to try and make Phil cut this out via clever editing. You're just going to have to put up with the noise of the cat assaulting a fly in the background.
And if you don't hear anything, then you'll have no clue what Liz is on about.
And you'll be like, what noise?
crazy cat lady. I'm joking.
You're brave.
This is why we do it remotely.
But so just coming back to that.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when we think about knowing, I don't know how to put this. I think sometimes when we think about knowing our worth, we think about how other people treat us and blah, blah, blah. And we can easily bring to mind the ways in which other people have made us feel small or less than or worthless, right? But what I also think is really important is to take some ownership and responsibility and think about the other person you're in a relationship and them knowing their worth and them having some self-esteem and some standards about how they're treated, and being willing to reflect on your own behaviour and whether you always also treat them in a way which represents their worth. Because I know, if I'm really honest with myself, that there are ways that I have behaved in relationships which probably made somebody else feel like crap, or feel like they weren't worthy, or feel like they were looked down on or small. And I know I've done that probably in numerous relationships, realistically. And so for me, knowing my worth is about me and my self-esteem and how I'm treated, but it's also how I treat other people, because anyone that I enter into a relationship deserves to be treated well and deserves to be loved and adored and, you know, taken care of, not taken care of, but you know what I mean, like respected and treated with respect. And so I have standards for how I enable other people to treat me, but I also have to hold myself to those standards or to the standards set by other people, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, for me, how I treat somebody, how I expect to be treated is how I will treat somebody. And I feel if you want your self-worth, but you're not respecting someone else's self-worth, then that's a no. It's a lot of things in relationships are like, it's a balance. You know, if you're expecting something from somebody, you have to be prepared to give it as well. You can't just go take. Yeah. It's, you know, you've got to give.
And I don't think we can really talk about this topic without talking about therapy and doing the work and self-healing and all of those things, right? Because if you haven't kind of done the work in quotation marks, or you haven't explored what your particular wounds and issues are, the likelihood is that you are playing out them with whoever you're in a relationship, right? Almost inevitably, because until you recognize and acknowledge your own bullshit and start working on it and dealing with it, it's going to play out. You just probably won't realize that that's what's happening. You know, you might have a rejection wound which causes you to behave in a way that's very jealous in relationships because you're so terrified of being rejected, but you wouldn't necessarily have the insight to recognize that's what it is. And I think that that's why, if you're going to date, it's so important to do the self-development work and to start trying to figure out how you can own your shit a bit more and stop putting that on other people, because otherwise the same patterns just play out and play out and play out. And I've been in, I'm just going to be really honest, I've been in relationships where I've been yelled at a lot, right? So one of my standards for knowing my worth is I will not be in a relationship with somebody who yells at me. That is a deal breaker. That is not okay. We need to be able to have disagreements. Fine. I know that couples argue. I will not be yelled at. However, I also know that in past relationships, I have done a lot of yelling. And so in order to prevent myself being in a situation where I will yell at somebody, I need to work on the things which caused me to be triggered, which caused me to yell, right? Which may or may not have been their behaviour, may very well have been my shit that's getting triggered, right?
Yeah, no, I completely get that about... Yeah, and this is where it comes into taking a break, like we said before, and this is why we have to do the break.
Date for a year, anyone?
It's nearly 5 months, isn't it?
Yeah, 4.5. Yeah. My God, it's fucking hard.
14 more days.
Yeah.
14 more days.
It's also hard. It's also hard in equal measure. But yeah, for me, that's one of the biggest things about taking a date for a year, is because I needed time and space to do my own work and to do my own healing, and to make sure that if I do get in a relationship with somebody, I am a healed person, or, you know, as far as it's possible, who is going to come into a relationship in a way that is constructive and is not going to take out my bullshit on somebody for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I mean, me at the moment, I'm happy with myself. I'm like happy.
That's because you're awesome.
Thank you. So you, but anyway, big heads coming on. So yeah, I'm happy with myself, and I've realised that if I don't take shit anymore, like literally, if somebody comes along and like,
I feel like I need to do some like clicking and wiggling my head around, like yeah, girlfriend.
Yeah, if somebody, it's fine.
Sorry, the giggles.
Right. Oh.
Okay.
So if somebody messaged me and basically like messaged me something that's quite shit, I'll be like, okay, that's fine. That's to do with you. But if you feel that way, so be it. You know, see you later. Because I haven't got time in my life for negativity anymore. I have not got time in my life to be dragged down, to be put in continuous, repetitive conversations that are not going anywhere. And I think this is the thing. It's people tend to, I hate using this term, but feel desperate. They feel desperate because society or patriarchy, because
both probably they're one and the same mostly.
Fuck both of them. Anyway, they say to you that, oh, you need to be together, you need to be with someone, you need to do this, and what you find is your friends are getting with people, your friends are getting married, and it's all about this. You're comparing yourself to somebody else, and you never ever need to compare yourself to anybody, because out of the 7.8 billion people on this planet, you are unique. Yeah, there is nobody else like you. And we've got this as humans where we compare ourselves. We're like, why aren't I at this stage? Why aren't I at that stage? But if you look, some of the greatest people in history, they weren't at the stages that society said they should have been when they were, and they absolutely blew it out of the water. So,
and there's a really nice phrase about like overnight success, and I can't think what it is, which makes this a very uninteresting point. But like basically that everything looks like an overnight success, but what you don't see is the years and years, or it's something like every overnight success took years and years of hard graft, basically. So it's completely like defeats it isn't an overnight success, basically. And I think that's the key point, is like things always look kind of messy for quite a long time, and then they have a way of working themselves out in the fullness of time. But it's okay if you're still in the messy bit, or the figuring things out bit, or the, trying stuff bit.
So have you ever seen, I watched this film the other day and I realised that I completely forgot about it. It's my favourite film of all time. It's The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Have you ever seen that?
I don't think I have.
It's Ben Stiller it's got in it. So basically, it's about this guy, and he's creating his dating profile, because there's this one girl at work that absolutely fancies the pants off, and heard that she's on eHarmony, that was it. And he writes his profile, but doesn't write anything. It's like, where have you been? What have you done? Doesn't write anything. And anyway, Todd from eHarmony calls him up and says, where have you been? And it's like, I went to Phoenix once. And anyway, it's an amazing film. But they have this quote about of Life magazine, this magazine that they're thinking, and it's to see the world, things dangerous to come, to see behind walls, draw closer, to find each other and feel. That is the purpose of life. And this film's very, very uplifting, because it shows the shit that he's been through in life. His dad died and they had no money, so he had to get a job, and it shows him like meticulously planning his expenses and everything like that. And then he goes on this amazing adventure, and the end is just, it's unbelievable. But I think that's the thing. We go through a lot of shit, don't we? As people, if you've got to our age and not been through any shit, then you have been living in a fucking palace somewhere where nobody can say anything to you. So I think that's what we've got to remember, that we do go through shit, but it doesn't mean that A, you have to treat other people like shit, or B, you have to accept that shit.
Yeah. And I think also that the way that people treat you is not a reflection on you or your worth. The way that people treat you is an expression of them and their views of the world and their own shit. And that because you know, if somebody treats you badly, if somebody, you know, cheats on you or lies to you or whatever it is, that isn't because you deserve to be cheated on or lied to. It's because they have chosen to cheat on you and lie to you. But that doesn't mean that is what you're destined for. And I think this is most difficult in repeat cycles and patterns, right? So if somebody has been in a number of relationships where they've been cheated on, or from what I understand, which is unfortunately very little, but from what I understand about domestic abuse, unfortunately, it's something that seems to repeat itself. But that isn't because that person deserves to be treated like that. No. It isn't because they aren't worth being treated with respect. It's some other thing to do with a cyclical pattern of behaviour, which for sure is worth having a look into. You know, if you've been treated badly in lots of relationships, there might be something in it that you want to look into and possibly that you want to adjust in terms of how you allow yourself to be treated. Like if you are not letting yourself, do you know what I mean? If you're being cheated on a lot, like, is there something that you can do is it in who you're picking? Is it because you're not recognizing the red flags? And that's not victim blaming at all. I definitely don't mean that. But I think it's really hard for people who have been in a situation numerous times to not end up feeling like they deserve to be treated a certain way, when obviously they don't, because nobody does.
So what I think personally, when you're in a relationship with someone for a long time, they then become your everyday. They then become everything. So when that breaks away and stops, you then tend to try and search for people. If you haven't had that break, you try and search for people that remind you of them because you haven't healed properly. And these people that remind you of them may have the same traits as they did. So you will get treated exactly the same. And this is, I think it's just human behavior to search out what is...
familiar.
It's familiar to yourself. Yeah. So that's the thing. And like we say, this is where the break comes in handy, because a lot of people rush in. And if you haven't listened to episode 1, because we're going to plug the episodes because we're nearly there, and go back and listen, because it's with my first guest and the person here.
That's me. I was the first guest.
Talking about obviously her date for a year and taking a break. But yeah, I think, do you reckon we've covered? A lot.
I think right. Sometimes, and I'm just going to go back to this point about taking things slowly, right? Because this is like one of my main learnings, having rushed into a lot of relationships. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know how somebody's going to treat you till it plays out, right? Yeah. You don't know what's going to happen. It can all look very rosy, and then suddenly isn't. You know, I've been in that situation. Things are great. Suddenly, what the fuck? You know, because they, I don't know, have drunk too much and they happen to be an arsehole when they're drunk, or because they've, you know, got a jealousy problem that you didn't realise, or they've got something else, or actually got a secret gambling habit that you didn't know, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know these things up front. But unfortunately, what can happen is when you are a bit of a rusher inner, that's a real word, is unfortunately by the time they treat you that way or their behaviour comes out, you're already really invested.
Yeah.
For example, you've already met their family or they've met yours, or you've already started moving your stuff in, or you've already started talking about getting engaged, or you've already met all of each other's friends, or you're already in a habit of seeing each other 5 times a week. So when the problematic behaviour presents itself, you are now in a very fucking difficult position because you're already invested. You already have all of the eggs in their basket. So when you realise the basket is made of fucking paper and it's raining, you are a bit stuck. And there is the, what's it called? It's something, the sunk costs thing. What the hell is it called? Okay, so the principle of sunk costs, right? Which means that when you have invested time and energy into something, it's much harder for you to recognise when it's failing and give it up. And this happens to people a lot in business, right? If you've spent 5 grand, 10 grand, 40 grand setting up a business,
even if your business is not working and probably not going to work, it would be very, very hard to give it up because you've already invested that amount of time and energy that you're like, surely if I just keep going, surely I can win this back around. Because you feel like if you don't, and if you kind of quote unquote give up, that whatever it is will have been a waste, right? That 40 grand you spent will have been a waste, and it will. But the point is, it's wasted anyway. It's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's gone. You're not going to get it back. It's already gone. And that's a massive pattern in gambling addiction is people think, well, I've already put 5,000 quid on this fruit machine. If I walk away, I've lost it. But you've lost it anyway because it's already gone. And so I think that's a big thing, is that when you go into a relationship very quickly, by the time somebody's problematic behaviour shows itself, you're already invested, and you're too frightened to walk away because you feel like it would be a waste of what you've already put into it.
But the thing is, it's better to cut your losses and run than gamble more and end up losing more. Because like we say, the biggest and most priceless commodity on this planet is time. You don't get it back.
Yourself.
Yes. So you don't get that back. You do not get that back.
No, but you can see how somebody after 5 years or 10 years or 15 years of being with somebody thinks, if I walk away from this relationship, it's wasted. Surely if I can salvage it, it will be not a waste. But
you're wasting the next 25, 30 years of your life.
Yeah,
you could double that. You could, and it's like you say with gamblers, I've lost 5 grand. I'm going to put in another 20 grand. And they may get 5 grand back, but they've lost 15 grand, And
like, I'll be really honest here. I got married at 20, right? I just turned 20. If we're really honest with each other, I knew before the wedding that I shouldn't get married, right? I specifically remember my oldest sister, who's called Kate, who is wonderful. Hello, Kate.
Hi, Kate.
I remember Kate saying to me, this is a couple of weeks before the wedding, like, look, Lizzie, you don't have to do this. And I said, I do. It's all paid for. Which is not the right answer, apparently, in retrospect.
No.
The right answer would have been, I want to. So I went through with it, and I tried to make it work. I tried really freaking hard to make it work. And then just about 3 years later, we got a divorce, right? And I had to completely rebuild my life from scratch. So the reason I didn't want to back out of the wedding is because I didn't want to look stupid, right? I didn't want to let people down. I didn't want to look like I'd chickened out. I didn't want to let him down. I didn't want to embarrass him. I didn't want to embarrass myself. And so I went through with it, which ended up being much worse in the long term, because then I had to get a fucking divorce at 23. And so it takes courage to walk away from something that's not working. It takes a lot of courage to walk away from something that's not working. And I think that, and again, we've talked about this before, the idea that when a relationship ends, it's a failure. Well, it isn't, because if the relationship ends for your self-preservation, because the relationship is not working, it's a fucking victory, and you should give yourself a massive pat on the back and go and eat a tub of ice cream because you've done a very courageous thing. Yeah?
Yes. Make sure you have chocolate as well.
Much ice cream. Preferably
Chocolate,
cookie dough.
Yes. Ben and Jerry's, shout out.
Unhinged and Bubbled Up, sponsored by Ben and Jerry's.
Not quite yet.
Not quite, no.
What the other thing that I put on a post today, which will be last week, is about saying no. Like, I put that on yesterday, about saying no. And do you know what? In some instances, I think saying no to somebody brings out sometimes the actual them, of how they act, how they take it. So I'm not saying do this, but if you want to say no to something, see how they react. Because if they react in a really bad way, don't respect you or respect your decision for no, get them out the door straight away. Because a no means a no. We say this all the time.
And somebody can be great and treat you very well while they're hearing what they want to hear and everything is going their way. But what is the true test of character and how somebody will treat you is how they treat you when they hear what they maybe don't want to hear, or when you have a difference of opinion, or where they maybe get an answer they don't like. That is actually what tells you what somebody is like in their character. Yeah,
definitely. So at the end of the day, know your worth. Don't drop your standards for anyone. You are unique. You are special. You may need to work on yourself.
You're a beautiful snowflake.
Well, Liz said. You are a snowflake. They're all unique. But yeah, like I say, if you see something that you need to work on yourself for, work on it. If you see yourself going down and gambling that money away and thinking, I'll gamble a bit more, just pull yourself back, step back a little. And do you know what? Friends are good in this situation if friends are honest with you. If friends see this happening to you and tell you, they are probably telling you for a reason. Like, we had somebody message, I'm not going to mention names because it may get them into trouble, but we had someone message basically going, when I told them about the episode, saying, oh, I wish I could tell my friend about this because her fiance's an a-hole. And she's told her a couple of times, and she says, I'm going to calm
hard,
down.
Though. I recognise the situation when you can see that something doesn't look like it's working and it's maybe not bringing out the best in somebody, and you're like, do I say something? Do I not? And I think it's important to say something. Like in that instance, Kate said something to me, right?
Yeah.
But there also comes a point where you have to respect somebody's decision. So hard.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to see your friend go down that rabbit hole and then have to have to be there to help and pick up the pieces.
I think the important thing is for the friend to feel accepted, whatever choice they make. So to say, have some concerns, and not because this guy's a prick, but more about whether this relationship is working and bringing out the best in you. I'm here for you no matter what you decide, and I will always back you. But I wanted to,
just be supportive.
Just let you know in your best interest that I've noticed a few things.
Yeah, because
that's much better than saying your boyfriend's a dick.
Yeah, if you go down that of going, your boyfriend's a dick, you will probably lose a friend because the problem is they will probably choose their relationship over their friendship. And then when the relationship doesn't work out, they will feel like they can't come and talk to you and get support from you because they feel like you're going to say, like, I told you so, even if you don't actually say it. Yeah. Yes.
Into the ick of it.
Into the ick of it. Into the ick of it. Into the ick of it.
This segment is called Into the Ick of It, which is inspired by La 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 Let Me Explain's ick on Instagram, and we'll be talking about all things that give you the ick. Possible new segment.
Do you want to bin this week? Should we bin something? I feel like we haven't really binned much.
No, we probably haven't.
No. Or let's have a different another segment. Just let's pull one out of the bag, see which the listeners like. The ick.
Oh, I love this segment already.
I have been watching a lot of La La La. Let Me Explain's Instagram.
She's so awesome.
She talks about the ick quite a lot. So, Liz, let's play the ick. What is your ick? What ick have you had before that gave you the ick? Ick. It's such a funny word.
It is, and the tricky thing with the ick is that you don't always know what it is. Do you
want to hear mine?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
But people are probably going to hate me for this. So I was dating someone, and we went on a few dates. Everything was going well. Anyway, turned up at hers, and I noticed a really, really long nose hair, and I was like, no problem. That's fine. I can get around that. Next time I went round, noticed the same long nose hair, and I was like, all I can vision now is the nose hair, and I was like, do you know what? We get on really well, but no, that is the ick.
once you get that feeling and you're just turned off by somebody, you can't get it back. It's irretrievable.
No.
I'm trying to think about mine. Okay. This is really
stop on people.
No, it's really graphic. I don't think I can say it.
Yeah, you can. Sue Summers, please turn off now or skip forward about 5 minutes. We'll let you know when you can come back.
Okay, this is really bad though. Okay. For anyone who's not familiar with the concept of the ick, it's basically when you're into somebody and then suddenly you're not. And you just are grossed out by them completely. And you can't always put your finger on what it was, but you suddenly are grossed out by them and not at all attracted to them. And there's like usually something really trivial and ridiculous that switched you, right?
Like a long nose there.
So, have you ever got the ick during sex? Because that is really awkward.
I actually might have done once. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But this is your part of it. I've done my ick, your ick.
Okay, so it's possible, as it turns out, to get the ick during sex. So this guy made, and you've heard about him before, he's got a special name, made the most awful noises during, like, I can try and replicate. It's something like this.
Look.
But like in my ear, it was like this horrible growly grunt, and
so you got the breath like,
and I'm really funny about my ears. I don't really like anyone going anywhere near my ears, and he's like huffing in my ear, and it was something about the type of noise. Sounded like an animal, like you know when a bull is getting ready to charge, that kind of a sound. And
that sounded like the lion mating call.
Yeah, and I think he thought it was sexy. I think he was like doing it on purpose or something. It didn't feel like a completely unconscious noise. And I just distinctly remember going from like, yeah, this is cool, to like, oh, this guy grosses me out, like in an instant, but like in the middle of a sexual encounter. It's very awkward.
I'm going to throw a few names out here. This wasn't Chris, was it?
It was Chris. It was
Chris.
Poor personal hygiene.
Smells like farmyard.
Poor personal hygiene, Chris.
Dick smells like farmyard. Chris.
Yeah. So hilariously, that wasn't even the thing that gave me the ick. The ick was based on the weird noises he made.
If you don't know about Chris, go back to episode 2, people.
Wash, people. Wash your nether regions before you embark on a sexual encounter. It's very important.
There was that survey out there recently, wasn't there? They only asked 1,000 people, and apparently, I think so many percentage, 20% of men or something like that, only washed their.
Oh yeah, and don't wash the butthole or the butt crack because they see it as being like homosexual. Is that the same survey?
That might be a different survey, but they wash it once every 2 weeks. Or once a week, something like that. Yeah, yeah. So, Chris probably answered that survey. Chris, please go sort yourself out, please, mate. Like,
it's just polite to have a splush in the sink.
Yeah. Like, sort yourself out before. Go for a little freshen up.
And don't make funny grunty noises.
Lion noises. It's been watching too much Animal Planet.
Yeah, I think he thought it was hot. Definitely wasn't hot. Definitely fully gave me the ick.
There we go. So if
that was an overshare, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that.
If you like any of our 2 segments, and Liz's mum, you can come back now. No, don't ask Liz about anything that went on in this episode. Yeah. I mean, she can explain the good parts, but the bits that you don't understand, don't ask about.
Maybe we'll create a special edited version for anyone who knows me particularly well and isn't going to want to hear my various overshares of the day.
Yeah, we'll have 2 episodes. One,
clean version.
Liz, one, anyone that knows Liz. B, anyone that doesn't know Liz. Right. So let us know what you think about our new segments. The 2020 bin will most probably be around next season. Or we might replace it with
I think it should at least make a little cameo appearance in season 2.
Yeah. We'll put some polls up to see what you guys want on and what you guys don't. And I think it's time for...
Final thoughts.
So because it's just me and Liz, it's just our final thoughts, what we thought of the show, what we thought we spoke about, and what we'll take away from it. And also, we'll let you know what's happening in next week's show. So enjoy.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Okay, do you want to go first?
No, I always go last.
Oh. Yeah, that's why you should go first.
I can either copy off you.
No, you can't. We're not in high school. You can't copy my homework.
I need to copy off the most intelligent person in the room. And...
Wow, okay, if you put it like that.
My final thought is everybody in life goes through shit. And it's about how you deal with that. It's how you recognize the signs that somebody isn't treating you how they should, and about how you put it about gambling, and you can think it's going to change. You can think something's going to come of it. You think, if I invest more time, effort and everything, it's going to change. But 9 times out of 10, it probably isn't. And what you're going to end up with is wasting your life. And nobody wants to get to the end of their life and go, why did I do that? No. We all have regrets, but it's how much time you put into that regret.
Yeah, and the risk is also that if you stay and you continue in it, you get so ground down and your self-esteem is so low that you then lose the ability to leave or to
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest tragedy, is when people then feel, the window of opportunity to have a different life.
Yeah,
passes.
Because both of us have left very difficult situations, and it isn't easy. It's not easy at all. It's fucking hard. And then to
it
have
would be
your
much
life...
easier to continue. Like much easier to continue.
Yeah. Just put on the smile, put on the face, and everything's nice and normal. But you know what? Inside, truly, deeply, you are not happy. And your happiness is one of the most important things out there to yourself. Mm-hmm. So that is my final thought for this episode.
Mine is...
Don't copy.
Okay. Mine, I'm going to leave you with the words of the idol that is RuPaul, which is, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else? And I feel like fundamentally your first responsibility is to fall in love with yourself before you can fall in love with somebody else.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you do. You have to love yourself, even if it's a tiny, tiny little bit. And, because there's all things that you want to change, that you might want to change about yourself. And the thing is about that, don't let anyone else tell you what you need to change. Mm-hmm. Don't let anybody else tell you that you should do this or you shouldn't.
Or that you're not this enough. You're not enough like this, or you're not this enough or this enough.
Because the only person that can say that you want to change, you change for yourself because you want to,
and
not because anybody else says so.
And you are enough exactly as you are, and you are lovable exactly as you are. Yeah,
do affirmations. Affirmations work really well, especially going to the mirror each morning and saying your affirmations. If you don't know about affirmations, please Google it. And seriously, it makes you feel fucking shit hot about yourself, especially after 21 days of doing it. So,
it does. And also stop dating dickheads, because that will help.
Yeah. Fuck boys, fuck girls, fuck people. Don't go and fuck them. Stop dating those type of people.
Stop dating them, because however much work you do on yourself, if you date people who bring you down, you're going to be in constant tug of war.
They will bring you down, because
these are many final thoughts, by the way. We have a lot of final thoughts today.
Yeah. I mean, we've got quite a long episode, but like I say, this is our last episode about talking about things.
And it's important.
It is important, because the thing is, these people out there, they prey on people that they can wear down. They prey on people with insecurities. So that's our show done with this week, and we have one more guest coming up, and then it's our final episode. So we kind of want your thoughts of what we should do for our final episode, because me and Liz have thrown things backwards and forwards, and we're like, should we do this? Should we try this? Should we try that? And we've got some ideas, whether we get a couple of listeners on to record a short part and tell us what their favourite part of the shows were, what they took away from it, how it's helped them, whether we get some guests that have been on, whether we get some future guests on, or so let us know.
Tell us what you want.
Drop us a DM. Let us know what you want, because
it's your finale.
it's your finale, and then you're the ones that have to wait all this time. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, not hearing my voice for 6 weeks, I don't know.
People will miss you. If you get sad and you miss us, you can just listen back to the old episodes if you like. If you're like, need your weekly fix of Phil and Lizz, you can just listen back to the back catalogue again.
Or go onto our Instagram and watch our lives and watch.
We're not going to vanish off the face of the earth during August, and I'm sure Phil will have some great Love Island reels to share.
I'm not sure what I'm doing anymore.
You have to. Yeah, okay, listeners, if you want Phil to do more Love Island reels, you have to DM and say, more Love Island. I always want more Love Island.
Or deposit £500 into my bank account. No, you don't really. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. You guys have been amazing. We are nearly at 4,000 downloads.
That's so exciting.
We're about 100, 150 away.
Wow.
So
crazy. So if you like the show and you think that you have a friend who might benefit from it, whether they are single or in a relationship, then please share it with them. You can send them an episode that you found particularly helpful that made you think of them. Maybe this one as a hint that their boyfriend's a knob. But yeah, please share this podcast with anyone you think it would be helpful to, because we really just want to reach and help as many people as we can.
Because also for us reaching 5,000 downloads by the end of the season would be awesome. Amazing. Yeah. And if it happens, then I'll be over the moon. And then we'll let you know about more stuff that we've got going on.
Oh, that's a nice bribe. If we hit 5,000 listens and downloads, then we'll let you in on some sneak peeks for season 2.
Yes. Yeah. If we don't, then...
You'll have to wait. Suspense.
Yeah, you'll have to wait. Only yourself to blame.
You should have heard it. Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening. It's been a great, fun episode to record. We hope it's been helpful. And please join us again next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.
And I'd like to thank everyone for listening. If you'd like to get in touch, then you can do, whether that's to submit a dating disaster, ask a question, or ask for some advice. We're not that good at helping, but one of our guest experts will certainly be able to. So if you'd like to get in touch, head on over to our socials.
On Facebook and Instagram, it's at Unhinged and Bumbled Up.
On Twitter, it's at Bumbled Up.
Or by email, it's unhinged.and.bumbledup@gmail.com.
If you liked the episode, then please don't forget to like and share and click the follow button above.
We also now have a website, www.uabu.co.uk. See you all next week.